Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. You are listening to The Wellness Project. I'm your host, Des. We are powered by Spotlight Coalition, and this is episode 104. On today's episode, I speak with Paul Fortune. Paul was born with cerebral palsy, and he was told all throughout his life, even starting from the time he was born, that he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that, he would never be able to walk, he wouldn't be able to make the grades. So many people throughout Paul's life had so many opinions about what he was capable of, but he did not let that define him. He grew up being bullied not only by his peers, but by school staff as well. Paul wanted to hide the fact that he had cerebral palsy, but it was only when he started becoming vulnerable and living authentically and accepting himself and practicing self-love that he was able to stay determined and see a lot of successes in his life. I'm really looking forward to sharing Paul's story with you because it's so inspirational and very valuable. Help me welcome Paul. All right, everyone. I am here with Paul Fortune. Paul, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Desiree. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well. So, can you just start out by introducing yourself to our listeners and letting them know your diagnosis, your story, when you got diagnosed, all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was diagnosed with something called cerebral palsy. And if your viewers don't know what cerebral palsy is, it's lack of oxygen to the brain at labor. And as a result of this lack of oxygen to the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed. It can affect your speech. And these things are permanent, they don't go away. So when I was born, I really wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And naturally, my mother was very concerned with that. So she took me to the doctors to get some testing done. And it came back that I indeed suffered from cerebral palsy. And this particular doctor thought the cerebral palsy was so severe that he thought I would never, ever be able to walk. And it would be a good idea when I got to a certain age to get me ready to be in a wheelchair because that was going to be my life going forward. And I've had many conversations with my mom about this. And naturally, when she heard that news, she cried herself to sleep, wondering what the life was going to be for her baby boy. But she told me the next morning when she woke me up to get me ready for the day. I'm an infant. I really can't talk at the time, but she said that I gave her a look. A look, if to say, Mom, don't let this be my story. I want to walk. And that mama bear inside of her started raging. And she got a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion, a fifth opinion, finally found a physician willing to help. And with this physician's help and me doing physical therapy 5 to 6 times a week, I was able to walk between age 2 and 3, a feat that the other doctors thought that was impossible. So it was a huge feat in my young life. And I can go on. I don't know if you have questions for me, but
No, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, really amazing. I mean, I could just imagine how devastated your mom was to find out that diagnosis. No parent wants to hear any sort of bad news or diagnosis or anything about their child. So, I feel for your mom, but that's amazing that she got so many different opinions because she knew that you were capable of more than the doctors thought you were.
yeah, no question about it. I asked her one time, I go, was there a number? And she goes, absolutely not. There wasn't a number. I was never given up. So that's kudos to my mom about that. And she's been my rock throughout my journey because I remember when I was about 5 or 6 years old, at the time, I probably could run about 25 to 50 yards before my leg would give out. And I was put into soccer. So basically, when I played soccer, I'm basically standing there where kids are playing soccer around me. I remember one day after practice, I was fed up. Kids were making fun of me. I'm really not having any fun. I was going to go tell my mom that I didn't want to play soccer anymore. And I'll never forget what my mom told me that day because has stuck with me to this day. It sticks with me in my personal life and it also sticks with me in my professional life. She said, Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that's fine, but you need to honor your commitments. So you need to finish out that soccer season. And if you don't want to play soccer after that, that is your prerogative. And I'm 42 years old and I haven't played soccer since, but I did finish out that soccer season. And I kept that lesson throughout my life where I honor my commitments, I honor my word. And after I do whatever I said I was going to do, And if I don't want to do it after that point, then I pivot. But I always honor my commitments, and it served me well throughout my life. And I got a big break right after that soccer season. I got surgery on my right foot, tighten up the tendon to give me a little bit more spring in my step. And this surgery was a game changer for me. And I didn't know how big of a game changer it was, but I switched schools around this time. I was probably about first grade. Yeah, first grade at the time. I remember my first day of PE, physical education. We had to do our stretches, and the teacher said, "Okay, guys, run a lap." And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. I'm going to have to stop. And these kids are going to see that and they're going to start to tease me. But because of the surgery, it was different. I was able to go past that point where I normally have to stop. And I remember saying to myself, come on, Paul, you got this, buddy. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it cool. But on the inside, I was like, yes, 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 yes. It was the first time in my young life where I just fit in. I didn't stand out. I was just like one of the other kids. And things got easier for me because of the surgery, but I wouldn't consider them easy. When I was about 12 years old, my parents got divorced, so I had to switch schools. And that's a tough age to switch schools at. Kids are going through hormonal changes, they're becoming teenagers, and a lot of them have been going to school with each other for years and years. So they've already formed their cliques and they don't have any time for anybody new. So just being a new kid alone is going to be tough. But for me, I walk with a little bit of a limp. I hold my right arm a little bit differently. It was even tougher for me. I couldn't really break into the school. I was bullied, teased, spit on, tackled on, you name it, they did it to me. And I came from this silly old school mentality where you didn't squeal, you didn't tattle on anybody. So I just held all this pain inside, and I didn't tell anybody that I was feeling this way. And while all this was going on, I was raised Catholic, so my mom wanted me to go to Catholic high school. So I had to take an assessment test to see where they were going to place me when I got to high school. Well, I must have bombed that test because when I met with the principal, with my mom, the principal tells the both of us that she's going to put me at the lowest level possible and she doesn't expect much from me. I don't seem like I'm going to be college material. After one test, this principal says this to us. Now I think I'm stupid. I'm going back to a school I'm getting bullied and teased at, I'm crying myself to sleep most nights, going, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why can't I just be like everyone else? And I don't know what came over me, but the start of eighth grade, I was sick and tired of feeling angry and sad all the time. I knew deep down those weren't my go to emotions, but because of the environment I was in, those were the emotions that were coming up most of the time. So I thought to myself, what could I do to distract me from those feelings? And I thought, what if I set a goal for myself? So I thought, what could my goal be? And at the time, I loved baseball. So I thought, what if I tried to make my varsity baseball team in high school? So I started playing fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. If I wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. And while I was going through this journey, I remember a coach coming up to me one day and saying, hey, Paul, you play a lot of baseball. Do you have any goals with this? And I didn't want to tell him that my goal was to make my varsity baseball team in high school because I thought he'd laugh at me and tell me that was impossible. So I kind of shrugged it off, said, oh, no, I just like playing baseball. He kept asking me that question. Finally, he caught me at a weak moment, and I told him that I wanted to make my varsity baseball team. And I was bracing myself for him to kind of laugh at me, telling me that wasn't going to happen, but he didn't. He paused for a second and he said, that's doable. And I'm like, what? That's doable? He goes, yeah, it is doable. But you have to have other people keep you accountable for this goal. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? He goes, after practice tomorrow, you're going to go in front of the team and tell the team that that's your goal. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. They just start accepting me. They're not making fun of me again. If I tell them that, they're going to make fun of me again. And he goes, Paul, if you want to make this goal a reality, other people need to keep you accountable. There's going to be times when you're in this journey that you're going to feel down and you're going to need the strength of your teammates and your friends to pull you up. So they need to know your goal. And I'm like, okay. So the next day after practice, I'm shaking. I tell the team that was my goal. And again, I was bracing myself for them to laugh and tease me, but they didn't either. They start clapping for me. And I know this now. I didn't know this when I was going through this journey of trying to make my varsity baseball team. I started to send a different energy out towards these kids. I started carrying myself with a little more confidence, my shoulders back, my head up. And as a result of this new energy I was sending out towards these kids were sending a different energy back towards me. In other words, instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my middle school career was much different than my high school career, all because of my energy shift. And that alone is the win. But the cherry on top was I was able to make my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. In my senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout. They poured the Gatorade on me, and I felt so alive. I felt so good about myself. I graduate high school, and I start to really reflect on that goal of me going after the varsity baseball team. And I thought when I first made that goal, it was just a way to distract me from the pain I was feeling from being bullied. I didn't think it was possible, but I was able to accomplish it. So I started to think about what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. See, all through high school, I pretty much mailed it in because I thought, well, I'm not college material. Why try hard? Just do enough to get by and move on because you're going to have to find something else to do. So my grades weren't that great. But I thought, well, if I accomplish this goal, why can't I set another goal for myself to say that I am college material? So I enrolled into a junior college because that was the only place that would accept me at the time. I got myself a math tutor. I got myself a tutor for other subjects. I went to the math lab. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. And with all this hard work, I took my barely a 2.0 all the way to 3.5, where I was able to transfer to a 4-year university and graduate and become college material. And I still wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material. But I think about that, and I think I should probably thank her for giving me the motivation because in my head, I just heard her voice in my head saying that it wasn't college material. And all through college, I said after that, I am college material. I'm going to show you. So I forgive and I move on. And now I'm 22, 23 years old. I have no life experience whatsoever. I have no idea what the heck I want to do with my life. And I had a family friend who was in the mortgage world, in the banking world, and did mortgage sales. He was CEO of a small bank. And he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about becoming a mortgage loan officer?" And I'm like, no. I go, but I'd love to try it. He goes, okay, cool. I'll get you a job. And I'm thinking, great. This is my first real job. So I'm getting ready for work and I feel real nice. And I feel like, oh, okay, I'm becoming an adult. And I get into this place and nobody wants to talk to me. I'm sitting alone at lunch. I'm like, what is the deal with this place? How come nobody wants to talk to me? I haven't felt this way since middle school. And I quickly realized what was going on. Everybody at the bank knew that I knew the CEO of the company. So it wasn't because of my talents, it's because of who I knew. So what they were going to do is they were going to chew me up and spit me out because I didn't belong there. Why? I dug in. I was going to prove them wrong. So I didn't complain about the workload. I had a positive attitude. And from afar, I was observing what the top loan officers did in the company. And I'll never forget my first day of wanting to go out in the field and produce and get loans for the first time. My family friend stops me and goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm going to go out in the field and I'm going to get some loans." And he's like, "I love your attitude, but you're not ready. We need to get you a little more training. Then we'll send you out there in a couple months." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I got this." I go out there and he's absolutely right. I fell on my face. I needed way more training. For months, I was getting abused by these clients. But slowly but surely, I started to figure out value I could add to these clients. And slowly but surely, I brought in loans and more loans and more loans. And 2 years later, I become a top producer in this company. And the people who didn't want to talk to me when I first got there are now coming to me with questions on how I was able to turn things around at such a fast clip. And I really thought that this was going to be my life's work because I really enjoyed what I did. And I got up every day living for Mondays. And I couldn't wait for Mondays because I really enjoyed what I did. Then 2008, 2009 hit, and the economy tanked it. And that whole bank went belly up. And I had to get another job in that mortgage industry, and that company went belly up. This happened 3 or 4 times. So I really started to lose the luster of being in the mortgage industry. And some of the other places I worked for, I wasn't living for Mondays anymore. I was only living for Friday, Saturday, and maybe part of Sunday because Sunday evening, I started to get this Monday blues and thinking about Monday. So I was really, really not liking what I was doing anymore. And I'll never forget one of the last places I was at. There was this motivational speaker that came to motivate the sales team to motivate us to bring up the numbers. And the guy blew me away. The guy was tremendous. So after the presentation, I made a point to talk to him and tell him how great of a presentation it was, that I respected what he did. He was real gracious. He allowed me to pick his brain a little bit. And he said he started as a life coach. And I'm like, the heck is that? And he explained that to me. And I'm like, you know, maybe I want to get into that. So while this is all going on, I start to get my coaching certificate. I start telling people in my circle, hey, I want to get into this coaching, life coaching thing. Most people are humoring me and going, okay, whatever, go ahead and save the world. But before you do that, bring some loans in. So nobody really was taking me serious. But I started to get my website up and I started to post things on my social media. And the legal team where I was at the time got wind of what I was doing and asked me, what is all this? And I explained, I was very transparent. I go, this, I'm still going to do the mortgage stuff, and that's my full time job. And my part time job, I'm going to do this coaching business. And they said that could be a conflict of interest. We'll get back to you. I'm thinking that does not sound good. They got back to me with this 5-page report of what I couldn't say. And I looked at this report and I'm going, there's no way I'm going to make traction in the coaching world if I follow this to the T. So I had to make some changes. So for a year, I didn't do any coaching. I didn't post anything about coaching. I just did mortgage and I paid down all my debts possible. And a year later, I quit. And people are looking at me like I'm nuts. I just made President's Club. I'm a loan officer. This coaching thing's pie in the sky nonsense. I just told them maybe so, maybe it is, but I have to give it a go. I will regret myself if I don't do it. So for a long time, while I was going through this, I wasn't getting any coaching clients or speaking gigs or nothing. I'm like, what the heck is wrong? And I finally did some soul searching and I realized, how do I expect people to be vulnerable with me if I'm not vulnerable with them? See, the story I just told you about having cerebral palsy, I wanted to bury that story. I wanted to tell a soul about that story because all through growing up, all I wanted to do was fit in. I didn't want to stand out. I just wanted to be like everybody else. So the thought of bringing that up would bring me near to tears. So I didn't want to go there. But I thought if the only way I'm going to make traction in the coaching world or in the speaking world is if I own my own story. So I started telling my story as many places as I could, podcasts, different people, different groups, doing wherever. And I'll remember my first client ever. He comes to me and goes, Paul, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z, and I feel like you understand me, and I want to hire you as a coach. And we've been building coaching clients, coaching clients, speaking gigs. And that brings me here to talk with you, Desiree.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, there's so much to that story, but one thing that I want to talk about is that, I work in a middle school and high school, and just that your story just illustrates how powerful the teachers, all the different staff are. Their words are so powerful. One of my professors in college, he told a similar story about his mom. His mom was going to be a hairdresser and she was in hairdressing school, and her teacher said, you have no talent for this, you might as well drop out. And she did drop out, and he said she never did hair ever again. Your story just shows that people need to understand how powerful their words are and how they could really tear people down. I mean, for you, you were able to get past that and, not let those words get to you. But for so many people, those words could alter someone's life.
Yeah, no question about it. It altered my high school GPA. I was a poor student, and I could have been a better student if the principal came across in a different way. So I 100% agree with you. I remember things that my first grade teacher did for me. I wasn't a great reader, and my first grade teacher spent 3 days a week helping me read to be up to speed so that I could read with the class. So you're absolutely right with the teachers. The teachers mold the youth to a level that we won't ever know the impact, but it is awesome and great.
Yeah, and just how you said it just took one person to say, yeah, you know what? That's doable. And I mean, just the power in those words, like, yeah, you can do this. I mean, it just took one person. And I think for a lot of youth, a lot of kids, it does sometimes just take that one person to believe in them to make a big difference. So I'm glad that that person was there for you and you had him.
Oh, no question about it. I can't say enough great things about him. I mean, he worked my butt off at baseball practice, believe me. But there was days I really didn't like him. But looking back, he was a big cheerleader for me, and I'll never forget him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And so, as for your cerebral palsy, I mean, it sounds like, you endured a ton of different bullying. And were you ever ashamed of your condition, of your diagnosis? Where I know you said like you didn't want to mention it, you tried to hide it. I mean, did you ever blame your diagnosis for the things that you had gone through in your life?
Absolutely, especially when I was younger, especially in adolescence, asking girls out or any of that nature when I was younger. I had a lot of limited beliefs about all that. So yeah, I was ashamed of it, and I would do different things to cover it up. It was really, really, really hard because when you're a kid, as you know, as a teacher in middle school and high school, basically you just want to fit in. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to stand out. You just want to be with the kids, and when you're outside of that, you feel like your world is crumbling. So that was extremely tough, especially in middle school.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure because you're absolutely right. I mean, middle school is one of the hardest years of kids' lives. I mean, it's a rough time, and then to have a diagnosis on top of that already difficult time is really hard. So at such a young age, how were you so determined, and how did you develop that positive mindset when you had so many things stacked against you? The diagnosis, all the bullying. I mean, you had a lot of even the teachers and the principal not believing in you. How did you overcome all of that and persevere?
I was fortunate enough, and I am still fortunate enough to have a great mom. It would drive me crazy with my mom because, like, if I came to my mom with a problem, she wouldn't allow me to kind of lick my wounds or any of that nature. She gets in problem solving move right away. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I remember one time, and I don't know if this was middle school or high school, I can't remember, but I remember having a conversation with my mom, and I go, Mom, can't one time just let me just like feel my emotions, like cry it out. I don't know how I said it, but something of that nature. I remember when my mom told me, she's like, Paul, if you need that, just go ahead and do that on your own. And then when you want to come with problem solutions, come to me, and we'll get together, and we'll come up with a solution to your problems. With my mom, it was all about, you can do this. Like, well, here's a problem. Okay, great. There's a problem. We'll find a solution. There's always a solution to a problem. She's always been that way, and to this day, she's that way. There's always a solution to the problem. So I think I got a lot that from my mom. Like, if there was an issue, okay, how do we solve this problem? What do we do to get over it? And that's still how I operate to this day.
Okay, great, great. I love to hear how supportive your mom was. I mean, it makes such a huge, huge difference. And obviously, with your story, we can definitely see that. A lot of people with whether it's a health diagnosis, a mental health diagnosis, or their physical looks, a lot of people, like you said, don't like feeling different, don't like standing out. So, people with different conditions or whatever it is that do make them stand out a little bit struggle a lot with self love. So, how did you learn to love yourself? What did that journey look like for you?
I think for me was embracing who I was. Like, I have a lot of unique talent that I can bring to the table. And when I started being me, when I started being Paul, because I think I was probably, especially in middle school, I was putting up kind of a front. I was very, very quiet. I'm not really a quiet person, but in that time period, I was very quiet because I didn't want to stand out. And through high school, with doing baseball and gaining friendships, I started to let my guard down, and I started being me and letting my personality shine. And I realized when I started being me, just being authentically me, people were attracted to that energy. And I thought, wow, that's all I needed to do was just embrace who I am. And I feel that way too about when I see speakers or teachers or anybody in any professional field or anywhere I'm in my personal life, if I feel the energy of them being authentic, I'm drawn to them because they're being their true selves. And I think, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but if you just be yourself, your tribe will find you.
I love that advice. Thank you for sharing that. What tips do you have for people that struggle with having a positive mindset? I mean, you showed that you had such a positive mindset through so much of what you've been through, but so many people have a hard time with that and they do focus and perseverate on the negatives and the negative things that about themselves, and I wish I looked like them. And especially with social media now, right? You can compare yourself to celebrities that have their own social medias. So what tips do you have for people that really struggle with having a positive mindset? They're just focused on the negative.
Here's an exercise that I do pretty religiously, and I have my clients do as well. When you wake up in the morning, whatever your morning routine is, take a few minutes to think about what is going well in your life right now. Anything, right? And if you have time, write it down or put it in your phone. Just think about that every single morning. Spend 5-10 minutes just thinking about what you're grateful for or what's going well in your life. See, if you start doing that, your mind says to yourself, oh, that's what you want to pick up on, all the positive things. So you could be, starting your day and you could get something on your phone that says free coffee. Up, the day keeps getting better and better and better, because we can all go the opposite way, right? We could have the negative and go and drive to work and have that negative mindset and get a flat tire, and you say to yourself, this would happen to me. I would get a flat tire. Bad things like this happen to me all the time. And I'd say that individual, yeah, because your mind's looking for it. How often do you buy a car and all of a sudden you're driving that car around the highway and you see the same exact car you just bought? You didn't see that before you bought the car, but you see it now. Because your mind's focusing on it. The same thing with the positive and negative. Your mind focuses on what you're thinking about. It takes training. And I know it's not easy. Not every day is sunshine and rainbows. I get it. There's days where I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and I just want to roll back over. But those are the days where you really need to practice that gratitude and really think about what is going well. And if it's going really bad, it could be, hey, I'm breathing, and then just build from there. That's the thing. Having gratitude in the present time right now. The past is the past and the future's not guaranteed. Right now, we only have the present. So we got to have the gratitude right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So, a similar question, but a little different. What tips do you have for people that want to build their confidence? They really struggle with their self image, their self worth, their self esteem. What do you have to say to those people?
First thing I would say to those people is, you kind of alluded to it with the social media. We try to compare ourselves to other people. And it really is impossible to compare yourself to other people because you don't know where their starting line is and you don't know where their finishing line is. So why bother even comparing yourself to them? So rather than focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. What qualities do you love about yourself? Because there's always things that you love about yourself. I know it's really easy to rattle off what you don't like about yourself, but try hard and rattle off things that you do like about yourself. I know, in our society, we have to have this humbleness where we can't really say too much good things about ourselves. But when you're by yourself or you're with some friends, say the things that you really love about yourself and really try to think about it, because there's a lot that you love about yourself, but you're ingrained not to. You're always ingrained to give the negative. So start to ingrain the positive things that you love about yourself. Start there. Build that foundation, because once you build that foundation of that self-esteem, that confidence, know this: we are a working progress. Till the day you die, it's all about progress. So don't feel like you're at the top of the mountain and you can't grow anymore, because what happens at that point, something will happen that will knock you all the way back down to the bottom of the mountain, because you think, oh, you had everything figured out. But if you just think of it more as, hey, I'm a work in progress, and if things go wrong, go, oh, that's just part of the process. This is bad, but you know what? We'll figure out a way, because I know I'm just a work in progress.
Yeah, I love that. So, as for being a child that was born with a condition, a medical condition, cerebral palsy in your case, What message do you have for parents that have a child born with some sort of diagnosis, medical issue? What, because your mom was such a force in your life and such a rock for you, what message do you have for parents?
The message I have for parents is two things. Number one, love. Love your kid for who they are, cares about their medical condition or their mental capacity, cares. Love the person who they are because they're going to contribute to this world one way or another, and we got to lift them up. And the second thing that we need to do is give them patience. They might be slower at activities than other people, and that's okay. Let them have that space where they don't feel rushed, where they can just learn and be in a stress-free process as much as possible. I know that's not going to be perfect, but if you can allow them to learn in a stress-free environment as much as possible, that's where they're going to thrive. And that goes for pretty much everybody, actually.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, great. Thank you for that. I love that. Well, Paul, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Can you please tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, the easiest way to get in touch with me is two ways. One is through my website. It's a call to action.coach. That's a call to action.coach. Or I have a Facebook group called Rewrite Your Story. And it's people from all over the world. They share their stories with us, and we're only there to support and not judge. And we have meetup groups once a month where we do it live and in person Zoom meeting. And again, we just allow space where people can share. We have special guests that share what's going on. So it's a great community. So that's Rewrite Your Story on Facebook.
All right, awesome. Everyone, I'm going to have all those links in the show notes. Go check out Paul. Paul, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for the space. I really, really appreciate it.
Paul, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I really liked how Paul spoke a lot about gratitude and how it helps to make a difference in shifting your mindset. I fully agree, and that's why in the month of November, in the spirit of gratitude and the thankful season, I'm going to be hosting a 1 month gratitude challenge. I'm going to be hosting it in a private Facebook group. Every day of the month, you're going to get some inspiration and motivation on how to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. I'm going to be going live in the group each week with a different aspect of gratitude, the benefits of gratitude, how to practice gratitude, and the things that hold us back from practicing gratitude. I'm so excited to be offering this challenge. I myself have been trying to practice gratitude each day, and even though it's proven to have so many benefits, sometimes it's so difficult to practice gratitude. It really does take practice, and that's why I'm hosting this challenge. When you sign up, you'll get immediate access to the private Facebook group, as well as my bonus 30 Days of Gratitude journal. That includes prompts for each day of the month. You will get it for free as a bonus when you sign up for the private Facebook group for the challenge. Otherwise, it is $14.99. Access to the private Facebook group for this challenge is just $9.99, and that is for 30 days of content. If you are interested in signing up, please go to the show notes because the link to sign up will be there. It's just a Google form with just a few questions, so I know how to get a hold of you and give you access to the private Facebook group. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you in the Cultivating an Attitude of Gratitude 30-Day Challenge, and it starts on November 1st. See you there!